The transmission didn't contain a message. It contained a heartbeat that shouldn't exist in deep space. Commander Kael stared at the monitor of the Icarus, drifting in a silent void near Jupiter. The signal was originating from a derelict research pod, lost since 1994. He adjusted the frequency, and the cockpit filled with the sound of a rhythmic, wet thumping. It was too slow for a human, yet too deliberate for a machine. "Identify yourself," Kael commanded, his voice trembling as the temperature in the cabin dropped 10 degrees. A voice crackled through the speakers, sounding like static and old radio plays. "The door is open, Kael. We just needed a host to walk through it." Suddenly, every light on the ship turned a visceral, pulsing red. The air began to smell of ozone and ancient iron. Kael looked at the external camera feed. The derelict pod wasn't made of metal anymore. It looked like it was wrapped in a translucent, organic membrane that was stretching toward his ship. It wasn't docking, it was reaching out with long, vein-like tendrils. "Disconnect the umbilical," Kael shouted to his AI, but the computer remained silent. He looked at the main console and saw a layer of thin, gray skin growing over the buttons. The ship was being transformed into a biological extension of the entity in the pod. He ran toward the escape pod, but the floor felt soft and spongy under his boots. He looked down and saw his own shadow moving independently, its hands reaching for his throat. The other Kael was made of pure, suffocating darkness, a glitch in the light. The shadows whispered secrets he had forgotten, names of people he had left behind, sins buried in his past. "You are the final stitch," the voice hissed. Kael felt a sharp pain in his spine as a silver needle, grown from the ship's wiring, pierced his flight suit. He was being sewn into the pilot's seat. His nerves were being fused with the ship's fiber optics. He could feel the vastness of the vacuum through the hull, the cold sting of cosmic rays biting into his consciousness. He was no longer a man. He was a sensor. From the dark corner of the bridge, a figure emerged. It wore his grandfather's face, but the eyes were rotating gears made of bone. "Welcome home, Commander," the thing gurgled. "The Weaver has been waiting for a captain to navigate the Sea of Souls." Kael tried to scream, but his mouth was sealed shut with a web of glowing, red silk. He watched through the monitors as the Icarus turned its nose toward Earth. The entity wasn't just a survivor, it was a colonist, and Kael was the vessel for its arrival. The ship began to accelerate, its engines screaming with a sound that was half mechanical, half animal. Kael could feel the millions of minds on Earth below, a banquet of threads waiting to be harvested. The grand tapestry was finally reaching its end. As the atmosphere began to burn against the hull, Kael realized the truth. The signal wasn't a cry for help, it was an invitation. He had been chosen to be the first needle. He looked at his hands, now long and spindly, as they began to weave the air. The Icarus streaked across the night sky like a falling star. People looked up and made wishes, unaware that the star was a predator. Kael felt a strange, cold peace. The narrative of humanity was over, and the era of the silk was about to begin. He closed his eyes, or what used to be eyes, and felt the heartbeat of the ship sync with his own. The descent was perfect. The Weaver smiled through Kael's mouth as the first tendrils touched the clouds. The harvest of the world had officially started.